question. So this is such a powerful documentary. As someone with a chronic illness without a cure myself, it's incredibly inspiring for me, as well as I imagine thousands of others. What inspired you to want to pursue this project?
Great. Well, thank you for sharing that. I'm really glad that it resonated with you. And, as we've been showing the film, a lot of people have told us stories about their chronic illness, about family members with ALS or other neurodegenerative diseases. And it's been really powerful to see the film resonate and Adi's story resonate with other people in that way. I think that is what made me want to make this film. Adi and I are about the same age, similar backgrounds. Both of our parents live on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, both Jewish Americans and kind of similar cultural world. But what happened to him could have happened to me. And I don't know if I would have taken that diagnosis with the same grace and resilience that he did, or more importantly, turned it into such a powerful tool to make a better country and turned his own despair and grief and loss into this weapon to fight for a better future for his son and for the country. And that made me want to tell this story to grow myself and share that experience so that I could take that away and others could take that away, that even these dark moments and experiences can be a beacon of hope if you're willing to do so.
Definitely. So how long were you following Adi for? Like, was it ever since the beginning? Did you know him previously before? How did that all happen?
No, I met Adi in the spring of 2018, right after he encountered Jeff Flake on an airplane. So he had already been diagnosed for a little over a year with ALS. And he had actually self-documented some of his own diagnosis diaries in the months following. And so some of that footage you see when he had just been diagnosed or before was from his own cell phone. And he was very prescient in recording that stuff. I think maybe he knew one day somebody might want to use it. And so when I met him, he had just met Jeff Flake on the airplane, and he had suddenly been propelled to national fame and recognition for that conversation that he had. And I got in touch with him through Liz Jaff, who's the co-protagonist and Adi's partner in crime, who met him that day on the airplane and launched the Be a Hero campaign with him. And initially they needed a short video to launch the campaign. And that's what I do with my production company, People's Television. And so I flew out to meet Adi for what I thought would be a short interview for a promo video. But immediately on meeting him, you see in the film, he has his shirt off and he says, "All right, let's get started." And I thought it was so funny and so powerful to see him be so resilient in the face of this, that immediately I pitched him on this idea of doing a film. And then later, Amanda, the producer, and I met him in New York and sat down with his family to look at what this experience would look like and how we could tell a story that would be journalistic and authentic to his experience and explore the real intimate, vulnerable experience of ALS, and also the inside, under the hood look at how to build a social movement from scratch, which is what Adi and Liz and the Be a Hero team do.
That's awesome. I actually remember seeing the CNN when they had been playing him when he had made national news. And I was just like, oh my God, like I wish I could do this for myself. And when he was originally diagnosed, he was given 3 to 4 years to live, right? So how do you think he had kind of been able to stay so resilient through all of that? And of course, he's still with us today. And it's been longer than 4 years, right?
Yeah, well, I think so. Yes, Adi's still with us today, and he's still doing some of his best work. He is fighting now for Medicare for all, as he does in the film, and he's pushing the Joe Biden administration as well as Congress people and senators towards that solution to our healthcare crisis in this country. And he's Adi in the film, as you see in the third act, has a tracheostomy, which provides him with a portable mechanical ventilation. And fortunately, he is able to still communicate using his eyes, as you see in the film. And there's no exact prognosis for him. A lot of people with ALS have lived for many decades. And so our hope is that that happens to him. Of course, he's in a very precarious and vulnerable state, but he's not letting it get him down. And he's still fighting the good fight that you see at the end of the film.
Yeah.
And we're really excited about showing the film in LA. It's going to open in theaters on August 13th. And Adi will be at the LA premiere, which I think is going to be a really exciting event for the audience to see him in person.
That's incredible. I wish I could be there.
Yeah.
So how has working with Adi inspired you to want to produce more like kind of activism content?
Well, I've always considered myself an activist, and I got into filmmaking to tell social impact and social justice stories. I come from that world, and I think that documentary film and video is one of the most powerful expressions of our shared humanity, and it's a way to build bridges and create empathy and erase divides between cultures and people that lead to wars and unfair immigration laws, and these are issues that I've worked on in my past work. I though have really been inspired by Adi to be an activist and to raise my voice and the lesson that no matter who you are, whether you've got a chronic illness, whether you're fully paralyzed, if Adi can do it, so can you. I think that's kind of one thing I hope people take away from this film.
Exactly. It's definitely just really like groundbreaking and just so well made. And even in the moments of when there's still comedic moments despite the tragedy that Adi's going through. And then also like one of the important scenes that we saw was when Adi was trying to push a Medicare for all, and when he spoke to Congress, and they were just like, "This is pointless. Like the House is never going to pass it," but he's still stuck for it. Do you think that we'll ever see Medicare for all happen?
I hope so. Adi and his team are working hard on it, and they accomplish so much in the film. You see them winning elections and meeting, with politicians at our highest level of government, and I think his influence is only growing. And I'm hopeful that if people organize and fight and participate in our democracy the way the activists in the film do, that we can win it. We are the only developed country by most metrics and one of the richest country in the world that doesn't provide any kind of national healthcare program. And other countries that have strong social movements in Europe and Canada and elsewhere have achieved that. And we need it here. And I believe and hope that if we fight for it, we'll win it.
Awesome. Yeah, I hope so too, for myself and for so many other people that I know. I think it's definitely really groundbreaking. And in the film, we see like Cory Booker, Elizabeth Warren, now Vice President Kamala Harris. How did that all happen? Was this, were you there during this, or was this when he was self documenting?
No, we shot all that, and we're helping to produce those interviews in conjunction with shooting the behind the scenes of them for the film. And Liz, his campaign manager and the president of the Be a Hero campaign, is as he calls her, a bulldozer in the film, and she demanded that all of the candidates for president sit down with Adi and said, if not, you should say no to his face, that you're not going to sit down with him. And of course, none of them could do that. And so they all agreed to come out to LA or Santa Barbara, to his home even, and sit down with him for these taped conversations. And they were very effective in using those to push all of the candidates toward a more progressive stance on healthcare. So it was very incredible for me as a filmmaker to begin the journey with Adi as a relatively unknown dad who had this viral video on a plane, to then be sitting down with the future vice president and Bernie Sanders and Warren and many other politicians. I never expected the journey to catapult Adi to that level of power in politics, and it was inspiring to know that regular people can move into those worlds and have an influence on those figures. That's what the message and the people power movement is about.
Yeah, it definitely inspired me to want to use like my condition to do the same thing as what Adi's doing. It's like essentially invisible, and that's why there's certain symbols like with a zebra, people that have invisible illnesses. And there was one powerful line in the film. Well, there were a lot of powerful lines, but one that spoke the most to me was when Adi says, "The weaker I get, the louder I become." Do you hope that sharing his story and not only this documentary, but with like his entire life, will inspire others to do the same with their own illnesses?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that happens of the many kind of ironies in Adi's story. So one is as he loses his voice, he gains a voice, and as he stops being able to walk, others begin to follow in his footsteps. And I find that incredibly moving, because what it shows is that this diagnosis, this illness, really became his greatest power. And of course, that doesn't mean that, you know, it was good that it happened, or, you know, we don't need to, you know, fight for a cure. And of course, it's, you know, a very intense difficulty for his family. But I think it shows that there is power in our limitations, and whether it's a healthcare, whether it's a loss, whether it's your own personal experience with criminal justice system, that if you raise your voice and you share that and you use the tools of cell phones and social media and bird dogging to speak to politicians, your story matters, and your story can be used to help organize people. Adi says in the film, we can't convince the politicians, but we can highlight the stakes for the American people. And so sometimes when you're writing to your congressman, when you're going to town halls, when you're participating in democracy, you're not necessarily trying to convince the politician, but you're actually convincing the people that are hearing you share and hearing you raise your voice, and building that community and political power from the grassroots. And so absolutely, I think that you should share your story, and I want to talk to you more, and that you and others check out Adi's work at beaherofund.com and become involved in the Be a Hero campaign. I'm just a storyteller, but they're doing the real work on the grounds. And whether you're somebody with an illness or a disability, or you're just a concerned citizen fighting for healthcare, all of us are touched in our families, both in our lives and healthcare, in our personal lives and with our families, by the inequities in our healthcare system. And so I hope that people see this and are motivated to follow Adi's journey.
Yeah, definitely. And you pretty much just answered my last question of what you hope viewers take away from it. But then also, I guess my final question. So you directed, and you also worked with such huge name producers, the Duplass brothers, Bradley Whitford, and so many other like EPs. How did that all come together?
Lucky that Mark and Jay and Bradley got involved in the project. We couldn't have done it without them. Bradley Whitford and Adi are personal friends. Adi actually officiated Bradley's wedding using his text-to-speech eye gaze technology that you see in the film, which must have been very beautiful. And Bradley was kind of the first person to see what we were doing, gave us some support, and said, well, I don't know much about documentary filmmaking, but you should talk to my friend Jay Duplass. And so we flew out to LA, showed them some footage of what we were doing, and really emphasized the humor in the film and the edge of the film and the road trip elements, and not just that it's a social justice story, but really it's a movie about a group of young people having the time of their lives while making this country better. And I think a lot of those elements really resonated. We didn't want to make your typical issue film, and that's why there's not a lot of interviews in the film. It's really about the story of this man and the movement around him.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Have you met Adi's kids?
Of course, yeah. We spent a lot of time filming with both Carl and Willow, and Carl is 5 now, and Willow, I think, is 1.5 or 2. I got to think about that. Yeah, they're doing great, and Adi's really learning to bond with them through his the way that he speaks. And as Carl gets older, he's understanding more about ALS and his father's condition. And I think that's allowing them to become closer and forge a, more connected relationship, which is the other theme of what the film is about.
Yeah, like there was this scene where he where his the older son was just like sitting on him and like feeding him something, or like just like being very gentle. And I feel like kids can, like, even if he's only so young, I feel like he understands. And I think that's just really great that that was shown too.
Good. Yeah, totally. It's really a father-son story, and watching them bond together is
Yeah.
incredible, and it just shows that you can overcome. And the technology with ALS is really incredible, that allows Addie to keep communicating, and it's such an important part of the story. And I um, hope that more tools become available like that to folks with all kinds of disabilities, to help them live full
Yeah.
and productive and robust lives.
And hopefully they're covered under their insurance. Like it was
Yes.
saying that his wasn't.
Yes, I mean that's really what I mean. Of course, the not just to the people who are developing the technology, but that we build a society which provides equity and access to the tools that people need. And one of those tools is healthcare at all. Another one is long-term care, which is another really important issue. And support for caregivers in general, which is one of the debated parts of the HCBS bill that Joe Biden is proposing, which Republicans are blocking now. So these fights are going on right now, and there's many ways that people can get involved on these issues. And I am very hopeful. I think we live, and I tried to embed that hope into the movie, that we can create the kind of society we want to live in.
Yeah. So finally, is there anything else you wanted to share with viewers watching this?
Yeah, most importantly, I want people to come out and see and support the movie. It will be released on August 13th in theaters across the country. You can check out which theaters and sign up for our mailing list at notgoingquietlyfilm.com. And after that, it will be on VOD and iTunes. And then in January, it will screen nationwide on TV on PBS on the POV strand. So would love people to follow on. You can check out all of our social media, Not Going Quietly.
Awesome.